building meaningful partnerships with schools. I'm a youth services specialist in Gwinett, and I spend a lot of time both doing outreach at a variety of places, but also facilitating outreach within the system. So let's get started. And just to give you a little insight about what we're dealing with here in Gwinnett County, the public school system is about 140 schools, around 180,000 students. So it's one of the biggest school districts in the state. I'm sure many of you have vastly different sized districts you're dealing with, but the ideas that I'm talking about today, I think, are applicable to any size school district. So this presents a challenge for us because the public library system has 15 branches and then 350 employees who are tasked with serving a school district of 180,000 people. So a few notes before I launch into it is that our administration here is fairly forward thinking, and we're very lucky that they established a partnership with the school to make student numbers a public library card, and that is great. But it's really important that all the branches in the library establish grassroots relationships with all of these schools, because most of the kids in our program don't know they're in the program, or if they do, they don't know what they can do with it. So my mindset when approaching outreach is that I want us to create, let me go back. I want us to create satellite libraries, satellite marketing outposts wherever we go. So when I go out to a school, I don't want it to be a one-time occasion. I want to approach that opportunity as a way to turn it into a longer-term partnership and leave such an impact on the people I'm talking to there that they in turn are going to tell their families and students to use the library and take advantage of our resources even when I'm gone or the library representative is gone. So the hope is that we in our physical spaces are serving the public, but we're doing such a good job out in the public that we're transforming these spaces, schools or whatever they may be, into satellite marketing outputs for the library. So to do that, I approach it pretty systematically. If you got no relationship with your schools whatsoever, the first thing you need to do is build relationships and trust simply by showing up to these schools. So no matter where you are, your public schools are going to have a certain amount of evening events, events that they have to do every single year, and they're looking for input and they're looking for community organizations to add value. So things like literacy nights, STEM nights, kindergarten registration days, Read Across America Week, these things happen year in, year out, whether the library is there to help or not. And if you don't have a relationship with the school, approaching them and saying, hey, can I bring some cool gadget out to your STEM night? Or can I set up a table and sign people up for library cards at literacy night? Odds are they're going to jump on that opportunity because having you there adds value to that event. So simply show up, look for those events where you can get your way in, and then when you're there, make it so worthwhile that people remember you. Get people's names, hand out business cards, do what you have to do to make it personal. So once you've done that, then you need to leverage that experience and turn it into meaningful programs. So we started very small simply by calling schools, setting up meetings, going out to schools, and I see registering a kindergartner at GCPS next week. All right, maybe someone will be there. But once you've established these relationships, you can start to talk to them about doing meaningful programs, not just promotional outreach events, but actual programs. So we're in schools here doing lunchtime book clubs. We have STEM clubs that the library runs entirely. We do puppet shows every single Friday at a different elementary school. That's free entertainment, free educational entertainment, and they love having us. And we talk to them about the library, we send them home with a pamphlet so they can give it to their parents can bring them back in. This year, I've been doing a lot of what I'm thinking of as Storytime Plus. So instead of just doing standard Storytime with songs, rhymes, books, I approach it as an opportunity to have a discussion with classes and to add value to whatever's happening in their curriculum. So a lot of schools are working with this Lucy Calkins method of teaching writing. And what I do when I go is I'll read a couple stories, and then we'll have discussions about whatever they think about it, the plot, whether the story, the pictures match the words. And it is delightful for me just to hear what the kids have to say about the books, because I don't know that they get that many opportunities to be freewheeling in their observations about books. And I've loved going out to third grade classes this year, reading them picture books and just talking to them. It's been wonderful. So take your relationships, leverage it into a meaningful program inside the schools, and they will be delighted that you are doing their work for them and freeing them up for a little bit. So the next step then is you take what you've done and the relationships that you've established, and you try and find ways to reach a lot of people really efficiently. Try and scale up. So through the contacts we've made over the past several years, we've built a really good relationship with the media services people at the county level. And we're to the point where they invite us out for their in-service days, the days when media specialists, technology reps, principals, they have to come to do their continuing education credits all together at a centralized location. And we get invited out to talk to every single one of those people in a single room for 20 minutes about what the library does. And that's an opportunity to sell them on these opportunities like book clubs and things like that. Another really great place where you can get in and reach a lot of people is morning announcements. Every single one of our school does morning announcements. So what we do is we produce 30-second to 1-minute long videos. Every month we send it to the people at the county, and then they push it out to every single school. So 1 hour of our work making a minute-long video gets translated into almost 180,000 kids seeing it because it's put in front of their faces on morning announcements once a month. Similarly, scrolling slides happen in every school. Send JPEGs for your programs and events, and odds are if you have a good relationship with the school, they will be happy to promote those educational events, and they'll be in front of the kids' faces every single day. Friday folders is another great opportunity. Usually some day of the week, school will send home updates to parents. Some schools use text, some schools still use regular paper. And if you have developed a great relationship, they'll be happy to send home information about library programs as well. So you methodically build your way up to the point where you're not just doing promotional events, you're actually doing educational events, and you've positioned yourself as a quasi-educator and build trust. And then at this point, to really solidify the relationship, we have been trying hard to turn our outreach mentality into more of a partnership mentality. So this past year, we established a media specialist public librarian team. We have about a dozen media specialists from a variety of schools, a variety of socioeconomic levels, come to the public library once every few months to meet with some public librarians. And we have an hour-long conversation about what's working, what's not. So it's as simple as make sure to send out our slides in JPEG form because that's easier. But then it gets as big as talking about how we can work together to make sure all the kids are doing summer reading. And that's been a huge success. Another thing you can consider doing is promoting school events inside your libraries. So if you want to position yourself as a community hub, if the library wants to build itself up and position itself within the community, then consider using your physical space to promote other organizations' events. And since the school is such a natural partner, it makes sense for us to promote their events because they're doing it for us. So we've started using their slides on our TVs in the library to promote things for them as well. And that's really gotten us a lot of buy-in and a lot more traction. We're also doing a lot of Meet Me at the Library events in the summertime. So in April and May, media specialists or principals will schedule a few days in the summer at their local branch, and then they'll promote it to their families in the last few months of the year. So they'll be, say, at one of our branches on June 15th, and then every single student and their family are invited to come and see them at the public library. And we can use that time to offer a program to get them signed up for summer reading and to make sure that our relationship does not lose any momentum over the summer. So all this is leading up to us integrating summer reading into the schools. And we're in more schools than ever, getting kids signed up, in May before they leave, instead of relying on them coming into the library to sign up. And hopefully, as the years go by, we'll get to the point where every single student is automatically signed up for summer reading. So my suggestion is just to be systematic and methodical about the way you approach your outreach, and don't approach it as a one-time thing. Be more future focused and really think about how your one-time event can be translated and leveraged into the next thing. So again, name's Don. Please reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to answer questions and share resources, and it has been a privilege to be here today. So thank you so much.
And this is Christina here. I'd just like to make sure if anyone has any questions, they can always type them in the chat, or we might be able to hear the folks in person. I don't know. So I'll quiet down though.
Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any. Yeah, I work with, I'm part of the youth services department, so there are 6 of us, and we all kind of have our different focuses. I'm primarily focused on outreach, but I can rely on that team to help me a certain amount. But a lot of my time is spent facilitating outreach for individual branches, because every branch has a children's librarian. They're all expected to have partnerships with these schools. So a lot of what I do is just kind of lubricating the relationship, for lack of a better word, getting the initial contact, and then handing it over to a branch so they can run with it. So first question with the universities, we don't do a lot as far as the youth services side with the local universities, but we do have relationships with Gwinett Tech and George Gwinnett College. So George Gwinnett College has been very generous, and we've used their space for events. Their students have been volunteers. Gwinnett Tech does similar things. I'm actually frequently out there visiting their ESL classes, because they do a lot of English classes for the community. We have a very diverse county, so I'll go out and I'll do bilingual presentations on library resources at all their classes. So every single semester I go out and do a presentation to the new group. But we haven't got anything systematic and in-depth with the universities nearly to the point that we have with the public school system. Yeah, so we have an outreach partnership with the hospital. We send packets out, so every newborn mother, every newborn that's born in the county gets a packet that includes a library card and information and encouragement to come visit and activate the card, and then a pamphlet that just kind of walks them through developmental stages to watch out for. Assessing our efforts is a little more difficult. We obviously keep track of stats and how many people we've reached. We also keep notes. So every time we go out to an outreach event, staff is expected to put together a small little plan, which is both a safety net in case people, they get sick and they can't go, someone else can step in. But then afterwards, they're expected to write a few notes about how it went, so we can kind of qualify whether it was worth doing. We're going to roll out an internal customer relationship management software in the next couple months, and I expect that to help a lot as far as the assessment, and then also just getting staff into this future focused mentality. Yeah, ESL classes are one of my favorites. So we work with the International Newcomer Center within the public school system as well. But we have our hands in pretty much anything. I think our philosophy is that if there's a table where we can have a seat, we should have a seat there. So the challenge is determining what seats are worth sitting at, and then making sure we can scale our efforts so we're not overextending ourselves. Yeah, surveys are an interesting thing. I've had mixed results with surveys. I find so far that people inclined to fill out the surveys are 80% delighted, and so it's not that worthwhile, and then 20% upset about something, and there's never that middle, just kind of equitable feedback that you really need. It's either pat on the back or what's wrong with you. But I know there are great nationwide programs out there that provide surveys for you, and I know someone's working on a white paper now, so hopefully somebody smarter than me will have a solution to that.
Thank you, Don. I hate to interrupt this really good conversation because it is, and I'm just thinking how wonderful this partnership is. But we have our next lightning talk to get to. And I'd like at this moment to switch over to our in-person folks. So I'm going to mute myself. Don, do you have any last words you want to add right before we cut over to Letitia?
No, like I said, this was a privilege. I'm happy to share resources, anything, answer any questions, and I'll be on for the rest of the afternoon. So if anyone has any other questions, just direct them directly to me so I don't miss it. And thank you again.
Thank you so much. We'll hand it over to all of our in-person folks now.
We are here. We're just working on getting everything positioned right. If you want to switch over to our video, we can try and see where we're at. I think so. Yeah, that should be. That's probably